Yeah, hi, I'm Tilda from the Ori Mill and welcome back to my woolly ramble. Yeah, it's a week ago since I recorded the last one, so I just want to show you what I've been up to and what projects I've got finished, what I'm still working on, what I haven't actually progressed with, and and a little bit about my kind of next project. So let's start with the finished ones. So I finished the wee anchor sweater for Siggy, my wee nephew, so now I got one for each of them and it can actually be shipped to Denmark. That leads to that since I'm sending the ones off that I have in the shop as samples, I need to knit one more of these. Hopefully that'll be the last one for a wee while. Haven't decided the colour yet, or the yarn. So if you have any good ideas about yarn to use for the anchor sweater, yeah, just pop it in a comment below. Another one I finished is the All I Love bag. I absolutely love it. So I was doing the finishing touches yesterday, kind of sewing in all the ends, and this one will be available to have a look at in the shop as well. But yeah, it was really nice to get this finished. It has been on the go for a wee while, and that actually is why I do these woolly rambles, because this becomes my accountability. I can then I can really record my progress in what I have been doing. So if you remember, last time I showed you that I was working on this crochet cardigan and I was on the first front. That front is now finished, so I got a back and one front, and I have started on the second front. So by next week I hope to have this one finished and have the two fronts attached to the back. So that's my wee kind of one of my goals for next week. And another one I showed you last week was my sock, which has now progressed a little bit. This one I'm actually recording a tutorial of how to knit socks. I have, as far as I'm aware, I got part 1 and 2 up at this moment in time, but 3 and 4 are now recorded. So I've done turning the heel and now also the heel gusset. So hopefully next week I can show you at least the full foot as well. So that's another goal for next week. It's to have the foot bit. I'm a size UK 3.5 or a 36 EU, so I got a little bit less than most people, I think. So that should knit up fairly quickly. So the one I haven't actually worked on, so that was 4 of the VIPs from last week, but the one I haven't worked on is the Kim Hargreaves cable jumper sweater, whatever you call it. It's just so fine, and I've just been bypassed by something else I'm just going to show you as well. So it's still, I hope to have, I need to set a wee goal here, I think. Let me just say that I need to have another couple of cables done in this one for next week, just so I'm a little bit accountable. So yes, my husband was kind of giving me a wee task that I needed to knit a wee sample for the shop. So I'm going to knit this wee rabbit. Can you see that wee one? So I started it last night. That was technically why I wasn't working on the Kim Hargreaves one. So yeah, I got the wee body done, and the pattern says to cast them off, but I don't really know whether I want to maybe strand the yarn through. It needs to be gathered up at the top, so I'm still kind of debating whether, so I just have enough so I can cast off or strand my yarn through. Again, the same here, the wee head, not much about that yet, and yep, got the ears done, the inner ears and the outer ears, and I also got the wee 2 of these wee foot ones done, and I have started working the foot as well. It's actually in the pattern, it's knitted flat, but because I can, then I decided I'm going to change the pattern slightly, not knowing that actually I had to adjust it quite a bit. But I got there, spent a few hours kind of working out how to do the wee foot in the round. It's just so I don't have that seam. It's just, I'm not a huge fan of sewing up. I can do it and it doesn't take me that long, but I'm still not a huge fan because I think it looks neater if it can be knitted in the round. So yeah, that's where I'm at. So the plan is to actually have this rabbit finished as well, so that's another goal. I'll see how far I get with that. I think I showed you the Noro last time, the one I'm still debating. So I'm still actually debating what to make with this yarn here. If you have any ideas, just pop them in a comment below. There was the origami shawl that I was talking about. Again, a Sophie shawl would be lovely in it as well, but I've knitted so many of them that I think I need to knit something else. I'm also debating a jumper, or kind of a short sleeved well, t-shirt, I think you could call it, more of a kind of a summery top, because actually I do need some summery tops. So if you have any ideas, I'm still kind of just giving a wee hug once a day and stroking it because it's so nice. I don't know if I told you guys about Noro. I am really fascinated by the way they spin the yarns, that the yarn is dyed before it's spun and is technically a hand spun yarn, and the spinners kind of line up wee blobs of wool and fibres, and then they kind of feed them into these 100-year-old machines. So yeah, I'm kind of really fascinated. Again, it really is on purpose that this is not a uniform spun yarn. They have tried to also use less chemicals, and they don't really use any harsh stuff when producing that. They're trying to handle it as little as possible to keep the fibre as strong and as good as they possibly can be. So I am just absolutely fascinated by the Noro, and it's definitely a yarn I want more of in the shop. So yes, if you ask me, one of my favourites, because I cannot tell you what my favourite yarn is. It changes, and sometimes it just changes from project to project as well, because sometimes a garment I would like to knit in a certain yarn, and also the garment itself kind of maybe leans itself better to one yarn than the other. But yes, I do. Noro is one of my favourites. The Kit Silk Haze is also one of my favourite, and I really love knitting with it, and also comes in the most beautiful colours. So again, I love to strand the Kit Silk Haze with another yarn, just because it can add something completely different, and it changes the texture and feel of, yes, another yarn. It's amazing. You're transforming your fabric into something. If you have, let's say you stranded these two together, it would be something in between. The colour would be somewhere in between these two. It's a way of playing with the yarn texture, the colours. So I'm really, again, that's one of the fascinations I have. I was going to talk to you a little bit about the elements as well, because that's really growing on me. It's the one I am crocheting this in. I don't know whether it really shows up here on, but it's got this sheen to it, and that's the tencel in it. That's that is creating the sheen. But also, as you can see, it looks a little bit kind of mottled, and it's because the dye is taken differently in the yarn, in the wool, the Shetland Island, Shetland Island when I'm talking rubbish, the Falkland Island wool, and the tencel that's been spun together here, they take the dye differently. So that's why you're finding that yarns composed of more than just one fibre might have this slightly mottled effect, just because it takes the dye the dye is obviously a little bit more strong in the wool here than it is in the tencel. So but yeah, that was what I really wanted to talk to you about today. So just a wee catch up from me. I hope to be back next week and show you my progress again, and hopefully I've done a lot of progress. I'm quite pleased with myself that I did much more than I thought I would do. And yeah, I can really see the progress when filming this, hopefully every week. I can't promise, because sometimes life just gets in the way. But yeah, I kind of hope to be able to kind of share with you what I've been working on. And another goal of mine is that I want to start thinking about designing more of my own patterns, because it's a bit fun. I can play with colours, I can play with textures, and it just kind of pushes me out a little bit outside my comfort zone. For me, it's quite easy to come up with a design for, let's say, a blanket or a scarf or a hat or a sock or all this kind of accessory things. It's a little bit more challenging to do a garment. So I think I'll start kind of easy with some of the kind of the accessories. I am going on a course in designing hand knits, so hopefully that will give me a little bit of a challenge, but that's not until August, and I will talk to you about that a little bit more in future kind of episodes. But yeah, it's time to wrap up, and that's kind of all for me from today. And yeah, bye bye.